your Instagram feed. Take a moment to picture it. It likely shows a bright, colorful collection of your favorite moments, your connections with different people you know, and memories you have chosen carefully to share with others. For many, it's a special place online. It's where life's good parts are put on display, where friendships are kept alive across distances, and where new people can be met with just a simple, quick tap on a screen. It all seems so easy, so normal, a part of everyday life. But have you ever stopped to wonder what might be hidden just out of sight? What if, under that shiny, attractive surface of likes, friendly comments, and new follows, a much darker, more dangerous game is actually being played out? And what if, in this hidden game, you, without even knowing it, are the main, unsuspecting target? Think about all the small bits of information you share online, perhaps without a second thought. These digital breadcrumbs, things like where you are, what you're doing, or who you're with, might seem like nothing to worry about. They may feel like harmless posts or quick check-ins at your favorite places. But these little pieces, scattered across your online presence, can be very carefully and slowly collected by certain people. These are people with hidden plans, bad intentions that you cannot see. When they gather enough of these pieces, they can build a surprisingly complete picture of your life. Your open online world, the one you thought was safe, can suddenly change. It can turn into an open doorway, a doorway leading to a very scary situation, a reality you would never, ever choose to step into. The story we are about to tell you now is a chilling look into this exact possibility. It's a deep look into those shadowy, hidden corners of the internet where charming online actions and friendly messages can actually hide a frightening, carefully planned trick, waiting for an opportunity. Maya was a young woman making her way in life. She was busy with city living and focused on her job goals. Her Instagram page was a picture of a well-rounded life. It had snapshots from her hikes on beautiful trails, posts about her successes at work, pictures from fun evenings out with her group of friends, and sometimes a photo of a perfectly arranged brunch she enjoyed. She was active online, yes, but she also thought of herself as a careful person. Her profile was set to private, meaning only people she approved could see her posts. Her list of followers was chosen by her, not open to just anyone. One Tuesday evening, as she was relaxing, a new follow request appeared on her phone. The name shown was Liam Walker. The profile picture next to the name showed a man. He had kind-looking eyes and an easy, friendly smile. He was standing in front of a truly stunning mountain view. Her interest was definitely caught. So Maya tapped on the profile to see more, to find out who this person was. Liam's feed, his collection of posts, looked perfect. It was a mix of exciting adventure trips to faraway places, some work-related thoughts and ideas that really connected with her own job field, and a few natural unposed shots with people who seemed to be his friends. What was surprising was that among these friends, she recognized a couple of people she vaguely knew from her college days, though they weren't close. His biography section was short, but it was very interesting. It hinted at shared beliefs and a deep love for creative activities, things Maya also cared about. He had a large number of followers, and the comments and likes on his posts looked real and active. He gave off an air of being polished and genuine. For Maya, looking at all this, it just felt right. It felt like a good connection. The first few talks they had were surprisingly normal, even comforting. Liam's comments on her very few public posts, she decided to accept his follow request after thinking about it for a while, were clever, showed he was smart, and were always polite and respectful. He didn't just send a common, clumsy pickup line in her direct messages. Instead, he started their private chat with a good, thoughtful question about a book she had mentioned she liked in one of her temporary story posts. Their conversations flowed very smoothly from there. They talked about all sorts of things, from their job dreams and goals to their favorite unknown music bands. He really seemed to understand her, to get her, in a way that very few online contacts she'd met before ever had. Maya's first deep-seated feeling of doubt, that small inner voice that always whispered a warning about strangers online, slowly began to fade away. Liam's steady charm, the seeming realness and truth of his profile, and that quiet social proof that came from them knowing some of the same people, all of this helped to calm her worries. Liam felt like something new and good in her online life, a connection that seemed almost as if it was meant to happen, fated. She had absolutely no idea, not even a tiny suspicion, that this carefully built online image, this perfect persona, was just the very first step in a scary, well-planned trick. It was a carefully set trap, a baited hook designed with precision to catch her interest and pull her in. But this online dating, which seemed so nice and promising at the very start, soon began to take a very unsettling, disturbing turn. It started hinting at a hidden darkness, a coldness lurking just behind that perfect, friendly smile, a darkness she was completely unprepared to face. The change was very small at first, almost impossible to notice if you weren't paying extremely close attention. Liam's questions, still wrapped in the comfortable blanket of normal, everyday talk, started to go just a little bit deeper than before. He would ask about her daily habits, her regular schedule. For instance, he'd want to know what time she usually went for her morning run, or which parks she often visited for exercise. He always said these things in a way that seemed completely harmless. He might say, "I'm looking for new running paths myself. Any good spots you'd recommend near where you are?" to make it seem like a casual request for advice. He once asked for her thoughts on some very specific, not very well-known podcasts. She remembered she had only mentioned these podcasts very briefly, in a passing comment on an old archived post from many months back. It was such a tiny detail, something that would have needed someone to do a long, dedicated search through all her past online activity to even find. Then, one afternoon, he sent her a direct message that read, "Just saw your story from the Daily Grind Cafe. I love that place. Their almond croissants are the very best, aren't they? I almost went in there myself today." Maya stopped and thought about that message. The Daily Grind was her local coffee spot, a small place, almost hidden away, not one of the big, trendy chain cafes. She hadn't even tagged the exact location in her story, just posted a quick, artistic picture of her coffee. For him to know the specific name of that small cafe, and for him to also hint that he was close by in her neighborhood, sent a faint, cold prickle of unease down her spine. It was a small thing, but it felt a bit off. She tried to find logical reasons for it. She tried to explain it away to herself. Maybe he just happened to live in the same neighborhood. Or perhaps he was just a very observant person, someone who paid extremely close attention to details, a very close follower of her online posts. She told herself these things to feel better. It's been said quietly in online safety groups that some clever tricksters and online stalkers don't always work by themselves. There are stories and claims that some of them use small teams of people or use very smart social manipulation tricks to collect a large amount of deep information about their targets long before they even make the first contact. They do this to build a full, detailed picture of the person from all the scattered bits of online information they can find. These matching events, these times when Liam seemed to know things he shouldn't, started to feel less like simple shared likes or happy chances. They started to feel more like carefully collected pieces of information, like facts gathered about her without her knowledge. This slow realization painted a very worrying picture in her mind, a picture of someone watching her unseen, someone who knew much, much more about her private life than she was comfortable with anyone knowing. The online charm that had felt so nice before was slowly, almost unnoticeably, changing. It was curdling into something that felt vaguely like her personal space was being invaded. Maya's online life which was once a comfortable place for her to do easy sharing and make links with other people, was now completely without her knowing, showing a very clear and almost moment-by-moment picture of her entire life directly to Liam. Her check-ins at her yoga class, her Instagram stories from her weekend hikes where she tagged her friends, even simple pictures of her cat resting peacefully by a window. These photos sometimes accidentally showed a small glimpse of her apartment building's special, easy-to-recognize outside look. All these little things were pieces of information for him. Liam, or whoever was really acting as the Liam persona, was a very careful and dedicated student of her daily life. She soon started to see a strange and unsettling pattern emerging. Sometimes, Liam's own posts on his profile would quietly, subtly copy her own recent actions or the places she had just been. For example, if she posted a picture or a comment about a new restaurant she had recently tried, then a day or two later, a very similar kind of food or a similar-looking setting might suddenly show up on his feed. His post would usually have a general, hard-to-trace comment with it, something like, "Trying out some new foods around town." It felt almost as if he was secretly following her, either online by watching her posts very closely, or maybe even following her in person. Then it seemed he was creating his own posts to make it look like they had these shared experiences, always with a believable amount of time passing in between to make it seem natural. A close friend of Maya's, someone who worked as a graphic designer and was very good at spotting online fakes and digital changes, offered to take a much closer look at Liam's profile for her. What this friend found out was very worrying and made Maya feel even more uneasy. Some of Liam's amazing-looking travel pictures, the ones that showed him in beautiful and exotic places, when they were checked using reverse image search tools and by looking at their hidden file information, showed clear problems and things that didn't add up. For example, one picture that was supposed to be from a recent hiking trip he took in Patagonia was actually traced back to a website that sells stock photos for anyone to use. Another picture, which was a selfie of him standing in front of a famous European landmark, had clear signs around the edges of his body that showed it had been digitally changed or edited. The hidden file information, the metadata on many of his other pictures, was either missing, likely removed on purpose, or it showed creation dates and types of cameras used that simply didn't fit with the story he was telling about himself and his life. Stories and warnings have gone around for a long, long time that catfishers and online tricksters often use stolen pictures or pictures that have been very heavily changed to fool people. More recently, people have started to say that some of these deceivers even use pictures created by artificial intelligence to make up entire fake life stories. They can create friends and family members who are not real people at all, just to make their fake profile look more believable. Maya's online life, which she once saw as a good way to connect with others, was now actually helping to support a false story, a story she couldn't manage or stop. The person who was pulling the strings behind the Liam account was clearly getting more daring, more sure of himself and his trick. The trap was slowly closing in around her, and Maya was starting to feel very caught and scared by its sticky, invisible threads. The expected suggestion, the one Maya was perhaps dreading, finally arrived in her messages. Liam suggested that they should meet in person. His message was written in a smooth, friendly, and excited way. "I feel like we've connected so much while talking online, Maya. I'd really love to finally talk with you face to face. I know this great new small restaurant that just opened up recently. It's a bit of a secret spot, really quiet and just perfect for us to have a good, long conversation. Or, if you feel like having a bit of an adventure, there's this amazing hiking path I found. It has truly wonderful views, and it's very private. We'd almost have the whole place to ourselves." When Maya read this, her heart felt a lot of mixed emotions all at once. A small part of her, the part that still held on to the first appeal and charm of their online connection, felt a little bit of excitement at the idea of meeting. But a much bigger, colder part of her was now sounding loud warning alarms in her head. His strong focus on words like quiet, secret spot, and very private now sounded much less like he was asking her for a close, personal meeting. Instead, it sounded more like a carefully planned trap to get her alone, in an isolated place. She quickly did an online search for the new small restaurant he mentioned. It was indeed a new place, but the comments and reviews she found said it was in a badly lit area of town, a somewhat empty and deserted part, far away from the places she usually went to and felt safe in. The hiking path he suggested was even farther away, more remote and isolated. Her inner fight, her struggle with what to do, was huge. She felt pulled in two different directions. But a growing feeling of fear, a deep sense of dread, was slowly taking over and winning out. She decided she needed to check him, to test his reaction. "That sounds really nice, Liam," she typed back, her fingers shaking just a little as she wrote the words. "But that area of town is a bit hard for me to get to this week. How about instead we just get a coffee at the Corner Perk on Main Street? It's always very busy there, and their cakes and pastries are great." The Corner Perk was a well-known coffee shop, always full of people talking and moving around, located right in the middle of a lively and busy part of the city. Liam's answer to her suggestion was very revealing. It told her a lot. His earlier smooth, agreeable, and easygoing manner completely disappeared. He suddenly became strangely convincing, almost forceful and pushy in his messages. "Oh, but I really wanted to show you this small restaurant, Maya. It's a very special place, you know. The Corner Perk is just so loud, don't you think? We'd hardly be able to hear each other talk there." When she softly but firmly stood her ground about wanting to meet in a more public place, he became slightly annoyed. A clear hint of trickery, of trying to control the situation, crept into his voice when he replied, "You know, I worked quite hard to find this special place for us. I thought you'd like the effort I put in." This strange and unexpected pressure from him, this strong unwillingness to meet her in a public, safe, and neutral place, was the last clear warning sign she needed. It confirmed her deepest, most troubling fears about him. With a sudden rush of energy and decision, she typed a polite but very strong cancellation message, giving him a general excuse about a sudden work thing that had come up. The results of her cancellation were quick and very clear. A lot of messages from Liam came flooding in right after. First, he tried to gently persuade her to change her mind. Then, he started quietly trying to make her feel guilty for cancelling. And last, there was a frightening flash of something in his words that felt almost like anger, a controlling and possessive way of talking that was very, very worrying. The friendly mask he had been wearing had finally fallen. It showed a scary, quick look at the hunter, the dangerous person hidden underneath. She knew then that she had avoided a real danger, a possibly very risky meeting. But the scary game wasn't finished. It was just changing, turning into something even more frightening, more sneaky, and harder to see. After the cancelled meeting and Liam's worrying messages that followed it, Maya very smartly decided to block his account on Instagram. She truly hoped that action would be the absolute finish of the whole disturbing episode, a near miss that she could learn a valuable lesson from and then move on. But the unsettling feeling of worry and unease stayed with her. It didn't just go away, and soon this feeling started to show up in more real, more alarming ways in her life. Her social media accounts, not just her Instagram, but her other online profiles too, began showing clear signs of login tries from unknown IP addresses, from places she didn't recognize. These attempts were flagged by security warnings from the platforms. Then, fake emails, cleverly made to look exactly like real official messages from Instagram support, started coming into her email inbox. These fake emails were trying to fool her, to trick her into giving away her private login details. She became extremely aware and careful about her entire online environment. She changed all her passwords, making them stronger and more complex. She turned on two-step verification for every account she had, adding an extra layer of security. Still, even with all these precautions, the awful feeling of being watched continued. In fact, it felt even stronger than before. She started seeing a certain nameless Instagram account, one with no profile picture or any posts, that would look at all her temporary story posts almost right after she put them online. The profile was completely empty, no posts of its own, no followers, just a common default picture instead of a real photo. It felt to Maya like it was Liam, or whoever was really him, still hiding in the shadows, still watching her every move, now using a new, untraceable cover to do it. The online bullying, the constant feeling of being watched on her phone and computer, started to affect the real world around her, or at least, the strong fear of it did. Late one evening, as she was sitting at her desk by the window, working on her laptop, she heard it, a clear, distinct, soft scraping sound, coming from right outside, just past the thin glass of her window. It wasn't a sharp tap, but more like the sound of something lightly brushing against the brick wall of her building. A quiet, sneaky movement in the dark shadows outside. She would later remember the scary stories from the other texts she had read, the chilling tales of how stalkers sometimes make their presence known to their victims through such quiet, subtle, and deeply upsetting ways. Her apartment was on the second floor of the building, which offered some safety, but she knew there was a strong, climbable drain pipe close to her window. There was also a low section of the roof nearby that could, in theory, allow someone to get up to her window level if they were determined. Her mind started racing with fearful thoughts. Was it just an animal outside, like a cat or a raccoon? Was it just the sound of the wind blowing something against the wall? Or was it something, or someone, much more evil, more threatening? People say, and reports claim, that some stalkers actually increase their harmful actions and tactics when their first attempts to get close are rejected or ignored. They sometimes leave small, unsettling gifts or strange markers near a victim's home, little, unexplainable items that are meant to upset them, to make them feel unsafe, and to constantly remind them that they are being watched. Maya started checking the locks on her doors and windows much more often. She started closing her blinds earlier in the evening, even before it got fully dark. Her feeling of safety and security in her own home, a place where she should have felt completely safe, was quickly fading away. The danger she felt was no longer just in her private messages or on her computer screen. It was now leaking into her real, everyday life. It felt like a scary, almost touchable presence, a constant chilling reminder that her online follower, her digital pursuer, might be much nearer, far closer to her than she had ever dared to think. Moved by a very strong mix of deep fear and a great, desperate need for answers, Maya decided she couldn't just hide away and hope it would stop. She felt she had to know, to understand, the full extent of this awful attack on her life and her privacy. She got help from her good friend who was very tech-smart, the same friend who had first seen the problems and inconsistencies in Liam's online pictures. Together, the two of them started their own simple, amateur search for the truth. Using online tools like reverse image search and with a serious grim resolve to find out what was going on, they began to carefully take apart the whole Liam Walker online image, piece by piece. The findings of their search came quickly, and they were truly sickening, making Maya feel ill. The good-looking, kind-eyed man, whose face was in all the profile pictures, was in fact a real person. But he wasn't Liam Walker at all. He was a small-time travel influencer who lived in Australia. He was completely unaware, totally oblivious, that his identity, his face, and his pictures had been stolen and were being used by someone else to trick and deceive women living halfway across the world. Maya and her friend looked even further, following faint online tracks and digital footprints. They were searching for any links or connections between the fake Liam account and other doubtful-looking profiles they could find. They soon found a small, hidden group of linked fake accounts. All of these fake accounts had very similar, carefully made-up fake life stories, and all of them seemed to be acting in a very similar pattern of behavior, aiming at certain people, working to build their trust, and then trying to draw them into lonely, isolated spots or situations. It was clearly a well-planned, deeply harmful, and predatory operation they had uncovered. But the real, stomach-turning, gut-wrenching shock was still to come. The worst discovery was yet ahead. While following a small clue, they found in a very nasty, vile comment on one of the other fake profiles, they accidentally found a secret, hidden online forum. This wasn't a normal website. It was a dark, shadowy part of the internet. This forum was set up for the purpose of sharing private, candid pictures and personal information about people who didn't know this was happening, people who had not agreed to it at all. And there, in a large collection of stolen private moments, among pictures of many other unsuspecting individuals, was Maya. There were many, many pictures of her, all taken without her knowing about it, and certainly without her ever agreeing to it. Some of these pictures were clearly taken from far away, in public places, pictures of her just walking down the street or sitting by herself in a park. But many other pictures were much more upsetting and invasive. The angles from which these photos were taken strongly suggested that they were taken from right outside her apartment window, or perhaps even from across the street from her workplace, looking in. There were pictures of her simply reading a book by her lamp in the evening, or working on her laptop at her desk. There was even one fuzzy, unclear shot that looked like it had been taken secretly through a small opening in her window blinds. The words written under these stolen photos were controlling, possessive, and treated her like an object, not a person. They were deeply upsetting and filled with sick, twisted ideas and even hidden dangers or threats. Talk and accusations have gone around for a long time, in darker corners of the web, that such secret, hidden groups are out there. These groups trade in stolen private moments and help to feed the bad, unhealthy thoughts of stalkers and dangerous people. The whole, scary, horrifying size of the trick, the deception she had been caught in, was finally shown to her in full. It wasn't just one single troubled person doing this. It was a carefully planned, deeply harmful attack against her, and she was the unwilling, unknowing focus of their twisted, secret, and sick show. Finding out this terrible truth was only the very start of the long and difficult battle for her peace of mind, a battle she now knew with certainty she had to fight with all her strength. Finding the hidden forum, and knowing that her private life had been so completely and thoroughly invaded, used and shown to others without her consent, was a source of deep shock and emotional pain for Maya. But in the middle of all the horror and fear she felt, a cold, strong anger started to grow deep inside her. She decided then and there that she would not be a quiet, passive victim in this. She would fight back. She and her tech-smart friend very carefully and thoroughly wrote down every single detail they had found. They took screenshots of all the fake profiles, the posts on the forum, all the stolen pictures of her, and any IP addresses they could find from the suspicious login tries on her accounts. They put all of this information together into a full and organized collection of proof. The very first move they made was to report the many fake accounts they had discovered to Instagram and to any other online sites where they appeared. This action by itself turned out to be a very hard and frustrating fight against slow automatic systems and equally slow answers from the companies. Then, after that, they got in touch with the travel influencer in Australia, whose identity had been stolen and used by Liam. They gave him all the facts and proof they had gathered, so he could take his own action to protect himself. Last, Maya took the entire collection of proof, her dossier, to the local police. The police officers she spoke to understood her feelings and were concerned but they were also very honest and frank with her about the serious problems and difficulties involved in such cases. They explained that the people doing these bad things were likely using tools like VPNs to hide their location, using throwaway accounts that couldn't be easily traced, and were probably working from many different countries around the world. All of this made them very, very hard to find, and even harder to charge with any crime. The great unhappiness and frustration Maya felt from dealing with complicated site rules, the slow speed of official police searches, and the awful, gnawing feeling in her stomach that the bad people who did this to her might never really be punished for their actions, was a very heavy weight for her to carry. The mental and emotional effects of this whole experience on Maya were deep and lasted for a long time. She found herself fighting constant feelings of worry and anxiety. She developed a lasting lack of trust when it came to online talks and meeting new people on the internet. She also became super alert and watchful in public places, always looking over her shoulder, which was very, very tiring for her. Even the simple everyday act of getting a new follow request on social media, something that used to be a small and unimportant thing, now immediately brought on a strong wave of suspicion and fear. She completely redid all of her online security settings with great effort and determination. She made all her social media profiles totally private, so only people she personally approved could see anything. She checked every single follower request very carefully. She became extremely cautious and careful about what kind of information she shared online, even with her closest friends and family. Back in her apartment, she put up better, thicker curtains on her windows. She installed security cameras to watch the outside of her home. She found that she was often startled and would jump at sudden, unexpected sounds. Getting better, feeling normal again, was, and still is, a very slow and ongoing path for her. The emotional wounds, the awful feeling of being attacked, invaded, and shown to others against her will, stayed with her for a long time, even after the direct danger from Liam was stopped by blocking his accounts and reporting what happened. Her whole life had been flipped upside down by this. Her basic feeling of safety in the world had been broken into pieces. But Maya refused to let this terrible experience mark her or define her only in bad, negative ways. Her very bad and frightening experience, though truly awful, became a strong reason for positive change. Not just for her own life and how she lived it, but also for those other people who were ready and willing to hear her serious, stark warning about the many hidden dangers that exist in our modern, very connected lives. So, we now go back to that very first question we asked at the beginning, but now it carries a much more serious, much heavier weight. That bright, colorful Instagram feed you look at every day, the one that is your personal window to the world, and also the world's window to you. What kind of stories is it truly telling about you? And more to the point, who exactly is listening to those stories and looking at those pictures? Maya's deeply unsettling experience is a scary and clear proof of a hard fact, that behind the chosen, polished perfection and the easy, casual links we make online, real and serious dangers can be hiding, waiting. The strong appeal of online talk, the simple and quick way we can now share almost every part of our lives with others, should never ever hide the absolute and complete need for us all to have sharp awareness and to use strong, reliable personal safety steps at all times. The online tools and platforms that we use every single day, the ones that feel so familiar and safe, can sadly also be used with very bad and harmful aims by those people who are true experts at trickery and deception. In the huge, widely linked network of social media that connects so many of us, not all the people who follow you are actual supporters or fans. And not all the direct messages you receive are harmless, innocent questions. Sometimes the most interesting, most appealing online profiles are the ones that hide the most harmful, most dangerous plans. The very best defense that we all have against these hidden dangers is our own personal watchfulness, our own constant care. It's also our readiness to trust that uneasy, nagging gut feeling we sometimes get, that inner voice telling us something isn't right. And it's our strong dedication to always guarding our online selves and our physical selves from harm. At times, the most dangerous links we can make are the ones that are made and built on carefully created lies, lies that are meant to draw you slowly into a bad dream, a nightmare hidden right there in plain sight, just a simple click away. So please, stay watchful when you are online. Always trust your own feelings and instincts. And know this, your online safety is not something to be treated lightly or carelessly. You must actively guard your online self. By doing that, you are also doing the very important job of guarding your real-life peace, your well-being, and your personal security.